In our Bible story today, Jesus is going to talk to us about something called greed. Greed is a word that we don't always use all the time. So, does anybody know what it means? Anybody know what greed means? It's okay if you don't, but if you do, Ezra, do you know what it means? Yeah, exactly. If you're trying to eat too much with water, you need it, right? With ice cream, you want it. And if you have something that you need or you want, it's okay to have the right amount. But if you try to get too much of the ice cream, or if you try to get too much of the water, it goes from being what you need to being selfish and not good. So greed is when you want something, but you want more of it than what you need. And you try to selfishly get it all for yourself. So if you were greedy with the ice cream, just like Ezra said, you would walk into that ice cream store, and instead of just being happy and content with the cone, you would walk up and you would take all those tubs and you would say, "They're mine, I'm going to eat them all, they're mine," because you would want to get them. Or another way to think about being greedy is that if you went to the ice cream store and you had an ice cream cone and your sibling had an ice cream cone and you finished yours first because it was really good and you ate it, and you looked over and you said, "Oh." So imagine this, right? If Abby and Caleb are both eating ice cream, what happens if Abby finishes her cone first? Caleb, what are you going to do if you're still eating your cone and Abby steps on your toe and makes you drop your ice cream cone and she grabs it from you and eats it, and then you don't get your ice cream cone? Never do that. But you guys get the idea. Does it make sense a little bit? Nod your head if what greed is makes some sense a little bit. Yeah? Makes some sense? When you want something and you want more of it than you should have, and you're selfish and mean when you try to get it, that's being greedy. So, in Luke chapter 12, here in God's word to us, the Bible, in the book of Luke in the New Testament, we are going to read about Jesus telling a story. He's going to tell a story about a guy who was greedy. He wanted more than he should have had. And here's the main idea. So everybody, I need your eyeballs. I need your eyeballs. And everybody's eyeballs up here looking at me. Now, well, you just look at me. I mean, you don't have to like hand me your eyeball. But everybody look up at me, because here's the thing. The main idea of this whole story, and the thing I want you to remember the most from this morning, is that Jesus, he wants us to stop being greedy. We're all at times greedy, and all of us at times try to get more than we need, and we try to get it for ourselves, and we're selfish. He says, hey, I don't want you to be greedy. What I want you to do is trust in me, because I generously make it possible for you to be forgiven of all of your disobedience. Greed too. So greed is something that's a sin. It's disobeying God. It's going against the way he wants us to live, because he wants us to be generous. He wants us to think about other people. And when we do things that are disobedient or sinful, like being greedy, God says, hey, stop it. I don't want you to sin. Stop it. I want you to trust in Jesus. Because Jesus, he didn't try to keep everything for himself. He died on the cross for us. He gave himself up for us, and he came back to life for us. So Jesus says, hey, I don't want you to be disobedient. I don't want you to think you can do things all on your own. I want you to come to me. I want you to trust in me. And we'll learn more about that from our story. So everybody, grab your story cap, put it on, situate it nice and comfortably on your head. So Jesus, he oftentimes tells stories to help us understand things. So when he talks about greed, he says this. He tells a parable. So there was a rich man, which means a guy who had a lot of money and a lot of possessions. He had a lot of toys, a lot of clothes. There was a rich guy. So everybody, in your mind, imagine this guy who's rich. Imagine a rich guy. Imagine a guy who has a ton of clothes. Whatever clothes you think are the fanciest ones, you can imagine him wearing those fancy clothes. Whatever food you think is the best, you can imagine him having lots of that food. All right? The Bible says there was a rich man whose land was very productive. Now, back in Jesus' time, the more land that you owned, the more rich that you were. So for your purposes, you can think about this guy having like lots of toys, lots of fun things. This guy had a ton of land, which means his house was on a ton of land. Now, he had all of this. Imagine a guy who's got like all the toys, the coolest, fanciest house. Now scratch your head. Everybody scratch your head. Here's what this guy said. Now imagine him sitting in a really cushy chair. You know the ones where you sit down and immediately it like sucks you in because it's so comfortable? All right, imagine him sitting in one of those chairs, scratching his head, and he thought to himself, what should I do? Everybody put your arms up. What should I do? He says, what should I do? He says, what should I do since I don't have anywhere to store my crops? Now, for him, being rich meant that he had lots of crops or like vegetables that he grew out of the ground, things like corn and wheat. For you, you could think about like, what do? I have so many toys. Where do I put them all? I have so many Nerf guns and so many basketball hoops and so many four-wheelers and so many doll houses and so many Legos. Where do I put them all? All right? What will I do? Says, I got it. Imagine a big light bulb above his head. Light bulb moment. I got it. Arms out. I got it. Everybody put your arms out. I got it. I got it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear down my barns, and I'm going to build bigger ones. And I'm going to store all my grain and all my goods there. So remember, for him to be rich, it meant that he had a bunch of grain, like the stuff you make bread out of, and like corn and vegetables, right? For us, we don't normally think about having lots of broccoli, meaning that we're rich. But imagine your toys, and imagine thinking to yourself, here's the answer. I'm going to take a sledgehammer, and I'm going to knock all of the walls out of my playroom in my house. And I am going to build a bigger playroom. I am going to put a pool in my playroom. I am going to put 15 cabinets because I have so many Nerf guns that I need 15 cabinets. I don't have one dollhouse. I'm going to make an entire section of the room a mini house inside of my house for all of my dolls. It's going to be incredible. All of my video games, I'm not going to have an iPad. I'm going to have a TV that's the size of a car windshield on the wall. And I'm going to play Minecraft on a TV that's as big as a car windshield. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Now, whatever toys, right? Like I just listed some. Whatever toys that you like have that I didn't mention, just imagine your own playroom, all to yourself, your own room where it's just full of whatever it is that you love. That's what this guy's thinking. Jesus is telling us this story, and this guy's got all of these things, and he's building all of this big stuff. And then he says, you know what I'm going to do? Then I'll say to myself, you have tons of stuff for all these many years. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to eat some food. I'm going to drink some good drinks. I'm going to enjoy myself. Imagine how fun it would be to play in that playroom, right? With like a pool and Nerf gun cabinets and a giant dollhouse. And I mean, why not have a slide that goes from one floor to the next one? I mean, come on, right? That guy's like, I'm going to have so much fun. There's going to be a Sunny D like fountain, and I can just take a cup and push it, and Sunny D will just come out whenever I want it. I don't know if you guys like that, but it's all sugar, so I love it. And like, it's going to be incredible. But you know what happened to this guy? You know what happened? Instead of getting to enjoy that, here's what Jesus says. Jesus says, look, that's what that guy thought. That guy thought, I'm going to have all of this stuff I've ever wanted because I spent my whole life trying to get all of those ice creams to myself. I took it all from everybody else who lived around me, and I got it, and it's mine. And then God is going to say to him, you're a fool! You are silly and crazy, and you don't understand anything. Because this very night, tonight, while you're sitting here thinking about making the coolest barn for yourself, your life is going to be demanded of you, which means he's going to die. And all the things that you have prepared, whose are they going to be? Well, they're not going to be yours, right? So that's how it is for the one who stores up treasures for himself and is not rich toward God. So Jesus tells us the story, and you know how it ends? This guy who made his whole life about me. I want everything to be all about me all the time. I built the best for myself, and then he died and he didn't get any of it. Imagine having the playroom you always wanted that we just described, and then your mom and dad say, "Hey, guess what? We're moving. We live in Buda, but we're moving to Kyle, and you have to share a room with all of your siblings and no cool playroom." Right? But you don't get it. That's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying, look, this guy spent a bunch saying, life is about me. Everything I do, I'm selfish and I'm greedy. I want more for myself. I need a little bit, but I want all of it. And then he never got to enjoy it because life isn't about you. Did you know that's what the Bible's saying? The Bible's saying, hey, guess what? Life's not about us. Life is about God and showing the world how awesome he is. Life is about having a good relationship with him. Now, I want you to think about this. Everybody scratch your head with me again, right? Now, this guy, he had this cool house, and he never got to enjoy it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I don't have a playroom with a pool in it, and I don't have a lot of corn, because no one has a lot of corn. So, why is this Bible story about greed important? Well, think about it. What Jesus is saying is that we shouldn't be making life all about ourselves. One way that we disobey or sin is when we're all thinking that everything is about me all the time. Now, scratch your head, because you know what? If you think about that the point of the story is Jesus saying, hey, your life, you're made to show the world how awesome God is. Your life is about God and how great he is. God wants you to care about him and to care about other people. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take all the toys that you have, all of the skills like playing the piano or doing theater or making art or being good at math. You're supposed to show the world how awesome God is with what you can do. You're supposed to take care of other people because that's what you're made for. Life's not about you. But you know what? We all can be greedy sometimes, can't we? So, a minute ago, we gave the analogy about taking ice cream from your sibling, but let's think about it like this. Raise your hand if you like to play any kind of video game. I said Minecraft earlier, but I mean, there's a lot of fun video games, right? So put your arms down. That's true for most of us. And if you don't like to play a video game, you at least maybe use an iPad or an iPhone. There's some kind of game that you like, right? Now, there you go. Now imagine this. You have your siblings, or if you're an only child, you have your friends, and they're over. Now, if you have your siblings or your friends over, your parents are probably going to say something like this. Okay, you get 15 minutes, and then your brother or your sister, they get 15 minutes. Okay? So you get 15 minutes, they get 15 minutes, and then that's it for the day because it's a school night and you have to do your homework and do other stuff. Now, right there, here's how you and I can be greedy. Here's how you and I can be greedy, right? We play our 15 minutes. We're good. Our brother or sister, they're in the kitchen eating a snack, and so you know what we think to ourselves? We think, I want more. 15 minutes was good for me because that's what Mom said, but I want more than 15 minutes. I want an entire hour of playing. No, I want 2 hours. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the Xbox, and I'm going to put it in my room. And I'm going to hide it in my room. And I don't know where I'm going to get a TV screen from, but I'll find one of those too. And I'll put it in my room so that I can play the Xbox all by myself. And I never have to share with my siblings because they smell funny and I don't want to share with them. Right? Now, imagine if you did that. So the Xbox is gone, and your sibling and your mom or your dad or your grandma or whoever come in the room. And they go to play the Xbox, they're excited, and then all of a sudden, it's not there. There's just one battery from the controller that you forgot to grab, and it's just laying there. That's all there is. And they're really upset. They wanted to play. They don't get to play it. What do you think your mom or your dad's reaction is going to be? Someone raise your hand and tell me. What do you think your parents are going to be thinking if you've hidden the Xbox? Bonnie? Exactly. Now, you can put your arms down because at some point, your parents are going to figure out that you took it, right? And what's going to happen when they figure out that you were being greedy? You were saying, I want more than my fair share. Paige? Yeah, they're probably going to give you some kind of punishment, right? Like not getting the Xbox for a week. So let's do one more example because being greedy, wanting more than our fair share and trying to get it selfishly, right? It's something that all of us can do all the time. A lot of times people think that when you're greedy, it's only about hogging money. And that's true, but we can be greedy in a lot of other ways. So imagine that you come inside from playing, and on the counter is a delicious pan full of chocolate chip cookie bars. And not only are there chocolate chip cookie bars, but there is Bluebell ice cream in the freezer, and there are chocolate chip cookie bar sundaes headed your way as a snack. How good does that sound, right? Now, your mom gives you one because that's your fair share. She gives you a scoop of ice cream because that's your fair share. But the rest of your family, they've got to have the ice cream sundae snack. Now, you're eating that. This is good. This is said I can only have one, but I want more. And here's what you do. You take a ball and you throw it out the back door and make your dog distracted. And everybody runs to rush to the dog, but you know what you do? You take that pan of brownies and you sneak it into the garage. Why the garage? Because there's so much stuff in there, no one's going to find anything. And you hide those brownies in the garage. And you put the ice cream in the freezer that's in the garage. And you think, I got it. I can eat all of the cookie bars. They're all mine now. And when your family comes back in from dealing with the dog, what do you think their reaction is going to be to all the cookie bars being gone? Samantha, what do you think? Yeah, there probably would be a bunch of flies. What do you think your family is going to think about the cookie bars being gone, Lily? Exactly. They're going to be thinking, wait a minute, I wanted one of those. Where'd they go? And now, once they figure out that you're the one who took them and hid them in the garage and got all the flies to come and made a mess, what do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to get a second cookie bar? No, you're not, are you? You're probably going to be banned from dessert for like at least a week. Because, yeah, maybe. My mom, you took the cookie bars. Now, here's the point with both of those examples. Can you guys scratch your head, right? Scratch your head with me. Can you guys think about how maybe that would happen to all of us? Maybe you haven't taken the Xbox or cookie bars, but do you think that there are times where all of us have said, I want more than my fair share? You don't have to give me an example, but just nod your head if you've ever thought, I want more than my fair share, right? I have to nod my head because all of us at times have said, I want more than my fair share. Now, that is, the problem is that Jesus says we shouldn't try to take more than our fair share. That's an example of sin. That's when we disobey God and His Word. And you know the problem is that we were made to have a good relationship with God where we obeyed. But when we disobey God by doing things like being greedy, it breaks our relationship with God and we're separated from Him. And not only do we get banned from dessert for a week, but being apart from God means being apart from His goodness and His life forever. And dying, not just that your heart stops beating, but being in hell, separated from God forever. But you know what? That's where the good news of Jesus is so awesome. Did you guys know that Jesus, He came, and He's all the way God and all the way man, and He's perfect. He was never greedy. Imagine that. Give me your eyes for a second. Look up here. Because we just want to think about how awesome Jesus is. Jesus never ever thought, I want more than my fair share. In fact, you know what Jesus did? Jesus died. He didn't have to die. You and I deserve to die for disobeying God. But guess what? Jesus, who was never greedy or any other kind of disobedient, He died for you. He gave you His life, His goodness, and the opportunity to be forgiven. And He took all of our consequence. It'd be like with those cookie bars. Instead of you taking the whole pan for yourself, you sharing with your siblings so that they can have one, even if it means you don't get to have a whole one all to yourself. Jesus gives of himself. He's generous. He doesn't take more than his fair share. He shares everything. And the most important thing that he shared is he shared his very life. He died on the cross and he came back to life so that if we trust in him, we can be forgiven of our greed and all of our other disobedience. He's made it possible for you to be forgiven of your disobedience and have a good relationship with God forever. Now, raise your hand if you think the cookie bars sounded like good eating. They sounded like good eating, didn't they? Now, Jesus is amazing for 1,000 million reasons. But one of the most important reasons that he's amazing is because he doesn't just give you a cookie bar. We talk about trusting in him all the time because being forgiven of your sin means that you can have a relationship with God, who's the creator of everyone and everything, that's good again. Right now, because of our disobedience, we're separated and we can't have the life we were made to live. But in Jesus, we can have the life we were made to live. And he gives it to us for free just because he loves us. So scratch your heads. Scratch your heads with me. You see, I want you to think about, have you trusted in Jesus? Have you? We're all disobedient, and we all deserve to have the consequence of our disobedience, which is death. But Jesus, he died and he came back to life so that we can be forgiven of our greed and of all of our other disobedience. So have you trusted in him? And if not, what are you waiting for? Mr. Allen and Miss Allie and myself and Mr. Ryan, we're all up here because we want to talk to you guys about what it means to trust in Jesus. And if you've never trusted in him, I want you to know that he's generous. He's not greedy. And if you do trust in Jesus, and I know that a few of you guys do trust in Jesus. I know some of you do. Every day we get to follow him, and we get to be thankful that because he's generous, we have forgiveness of our disobedience. And I want us to think this week, if we do trust in Jesus, how can we be generous to other people? So